Friends, hello everyone. We have arrived at the airship hangar in Kirzhach, dear friends and dear friends. This is the forge where the engineers who will be involved in the implementation of the new project and new technologies previously worked on this. Today we will walk around this airship hangar with them. They will share their story, what they have been doing here, what it was all about, and many technical details, because being close to the apparatus allows for a more in-depth discussion about certain topics. Also, here in Kirzhach, there is now a young generation of airship pilots led by Arkady from Bauman. Arkady is also involved in the airship field, focusing on the ascent of stratospheric vehicles. Recently, he set a record for Russia, flying from the Moscow region to Baikal in 4 days. In general, a stratospheric device is considered impressive if it can perform its task for more than 24 hours. Here it was 4 days, which is our record. We will also talk about this, about the stratosphere, and about the Bauman students. We will soon introduce you to the Bauman students and Arkady. A separate interview will be released where we will discuss how we plan to carry out this mission for the launch in the near future. This is Artem. He can assemble a thermonuclear reactor at home and explain to you how it works in simple terms, but he prefers scientific terminology and the English language. Everyone knows Ruslan. Ruslan is definitely capable of producing goods that are cheaper than all other analogs and of higher quality. The developer of various conveyors, lines, mechanisms, and devices may even find funding on their own later. Everything related to production has somehow turned out this way. Everyone is calling Ruslan and asking him to participate in it. And then there's Dennis, known by the underground nickname Beard. This person can even send a message from their kitchen to Pluto, Jupiter, and back via radio signal. Yes, he makes all these installations himself. The main focus is on power electronics, microwave technology, radio communication, and nanosecond technologies. He currently has the largest plasma toroid in the world. This is when a plasma bagel forms in a glass flask and hangs stably. Yes, and overall he's a cool guy. He has his own YouTube channel with 25,000 subscribers, and he feels quite upset that he is on the cutting edge of science, so to speak, yet has so few subscribers. So let's put the link here, subscribe to Dennis, and watch his experiments. I'm also involved with him, and I really enjoy all of it. It's very engaging. Soon, we will be building a space engine, but for now, it's all just a hobby. We are silent, so while we are all here, let's talk a bit about the stratosphere. The guys are also very interested in the stratosphere. They are already coming up with their own ideas. There is a research associate who is connected to space. And so, in such an interesting and close collaboration, we will soon be showcasing some very amusing experiments. We will be conducting live broadcasts from there. We will carry out experiments. Dennis will be trying to ignite the northern lights over Moscow. Make sure to subscribe to him, as we will be posting part of the content exclusively on his channel. How do you feel about returning to the place where you used to be?
It's nice here. You can work and work in a peaceful and productive environment. The fact that this place was created is also a significant achievement, showcasing the dedication and hard work of everyone involved. Here you can find the truly incredible and unique opportunity to fly in the luxurious and spacious aero yacht Oris, as it fits comfortably here.
So, is the hangar divided into two here, for 2 airships? And is it suitable here? 2 airships? 1 there, 1 here? Yes, 2 air yachts. Can we estimate the size of the yacht like this? If it were to bump into that wall, for example, 65 meters, how far will it go? Right across the entire hangar?
Either in half, or 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 in half. Here we are indeed. We even had an airship here with a volume larger than the AU-30. The next one we plan to make later. This one is unmanned. So, in general, as they say, it can be extended, which means that it can be made longer, but that would be if, so to speak, larger airships are needed in certain situations and circumstances. If the demand arises Therefore, it is most likely that larger hangars will be needed for all future airships. On the airship Oris, it will be possible to fine-tune all issues related to its operation, such as factories, outputs from the slipway, docking, and basing in limited areas.
But it's all better to do in the new, as I understand it, Jelin?
Well, of course, it's always better to do everything new.
Yes. Alexander Nikolaevich says that we will build a separate hangar for the flying yacht. It will be approximately the same size, but it will have a functional roof. While the roof here is ordinary, there will be a special docking device there where the flying yacht will land, disembark, and embark passengers. There will also be a small restaurant on the veranda. Thus, we will develop the technology and show the world that an airship can land on the roof of a building in the city center. This is safe, cool, and amazing. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Let's talk a bit about this place and our upcoming launches of small devices into the stratosphere. Everything should be carried out from here. As I understand, there is permission for the launch.
Well, it's not really necessary to. Stratospheric launches can be conducted from any location, and despite, that is, the stratospheric balloons that are currently being launched are mainly latex probes and small envelopes weighing up to 1,000 cubic meters. They can be deployed literally in the field from any location and can be transported in a regular car.
Can you please tell me about this permitting procedure? Perhaps should I ask someone if I want to launch?
Well, the thing is that there is a registered airfield here. And at any airfield, there is airspace where light aircraft can ascend to an altitude of 2 kilometers without any problems or questions. But usually, whenever we flew on the airship, we usually reported it. There was a notification procedure. Then he flew further, the same thing, but indeed, actually, the dispatch service here provides all of that. As for the launch into the stratosphere, this is the window. And of course, you need to get permission. In general, all questions regarding the permission for aerial photography with airships were handled by Igor Nikolaevich Kulikov and his organization, as they were in charge of all of this. This is a specific type of nomenclature work that one needs to master. For a person who is not familiar with it, it will be difficult to coordinate everything. The same applies to launching into the stratosphere. Stratospheric launches are conducted at our aerological laboratory, where up to 1,000 balloons are launched every day from well-known sites, and they constantly report on this. But these are short windows and short flights, which are typically brief and quick. Long flights, which used to be more common, are rarely conducted now due to various reasons. They were conducted intensively earlier during the Soviet era, and then for some time later. Currently, a group of enthusiasts has taken on these stratospheric flights, and they have been working on it for several decades. Basically, these are all educational programs, various experiments, and scientific projects. These are mainly latex probes that ascend like a candle to an altitude of approximately 30-35 kilometers, 40-35 kilometers. And after the separation, the equipment lands on the ground with a parachute, and it is located using the tracker. They have all the necessary equipment and have extremely extensive experience in obtaining permits. The main question is energy, the stratosphere, where there is a lot of sunlight. It is not obscured by anything. Solar panels. We already have experience in developing good solar panels and lightweight ones. There is experience in the world, and new technologies are emerging now.
Artem has ideas regarding the new solar panels. The technological process for spraying the battery directly onto the envelope of the airship has been partially developed. He said that in general the task is feasible.
There is simply a critical technology, flexible solar photovoltaics. Flexible photovoltaics in general represent a breakthrough direction, as they can be easily applied to any objects, on cars, on roofs, and most importantly, on airships. Initially, the plan is to develop small airship-type vehicles that are designed to operate exclusively during daylight hours. These vehicles will be limited to daytime movement due to their reliance on solar power and visibility conditions. And the maneuverability of such a device will allow it to cover approximately 1,000 kilometers in a day. This means that moving around the Earth with the currents, as I mentioned, an airship like the one Konukov used could circle the Earth in about 7 days. If at the equator, it could take up to 14 days. It might even take 20 days to complete the journey.
These devices are all well and good, but what we have with Alexander Nikolaevich Kirill is more serious equipment, which is more long-term. These are the small steps that will lead us from small devices to incredibly powerful stratospheric platforms, which undoubtedly represent the future. And yesterday, Kirill and I had a very productive conversation, and there is a proposal to develop the entire stratospheric project here at this base, which is where we came today. We will discuss this with the heads of this base, with the owners. I think they will find it all very interesting. We have already had preliminary discussions here, and the district administration is in favor, and they are all supportive. Everyone wants to engage in ballooning and stratospheric flight, so it will be absolutely very interesting and definitely cool.
Yes, that's exactly right. The goal of Alexander Nikolaevich is to create an airship that will be fully controllable, have high speed, and possess great energy capacity. Thanks to the technical solutions that we all support, they will be able to cover the sky. And in the country and around the world, they can achieve enormous distribution in various ways and forms, as they will become reliable stationary platforms that can always be lowered, have their equipment replaced, repaired, and operated from land bases efficiently and effectively. Again, they will always be able to descend, as they definitely have powerful energy installations, and capture the necessary situations up close in a detailed manner with a quality that is unattainable from space heights, monitoring everything with high precision and transmitting various information in real time.
Good afternoon. My name is Vadim Zubkovich. I was once the chief designer of this project, the airship AU-30, which unfortunately is no longer flying. There are 2 gondolas left from them. The palings are here, and you can see the tail section here. The plans for the tail section are standing. In fact, the gondola is positioned much higher. It stands on the chassis strut, meaning the floor of the gondola is approximately 1 meter above the ground. Therefore, the angle of the steps is correct. Right now, it's a bit awkward because it serves as both a door and a ramp. It can't open all the way, but we will manage to get in. There's nothing to worry about. We will make our way inside. The airship was designed as a flying laboratory. In other words, it was a laboratory that conducted thorough and comprehensive monitoring of high voltage power lines. Here was the scanner, which during the entire flight, this particular hatch was completely open, and it performed an exhaustive and complete scan of the underlying terrain and landscape, meaning a comprehensive and full mapping of the entire area where the power lines were precisely located. Here sat the operator of the television head. This is his workstation, this folding table, and he took very detailed photographs of each support of the power line. By the way, the scanner could even measure the gap between the wires. That is, it measured the distance from the high voltage wires to the ground. Arrested vegetation below. This is the rest area. Here the operators worked in shifts. That is, some were working while others were sitting and resting. Next we move to the technical compartment. This fuel tank has a capacity of 650 liters, making it suitable for long journeys and extended use. Here we have the main distribution electrical panel. The shell of the airship was above, and it was possible to take a look. In principle, you could see something. This hatch opened here. Right now it is just open and removed. On top was the so-called astrodome. It was a plexiglass hemisphere. You could look inside the shell to check the condition of the ballonet.
Friends, we are indeed in the gondola at the pilot seats of the airship AU-30. With us is Vadim Zubkevich, the remarkable chief designer of this device. It is clear that this gondola is already abandoned and cannot fly in its current condition. But we have a person who will now tell us all about it and show us. He will lead the tour, but first, Vadim, could you please tell us about the new devices? Which line will you be responsible for? What will they be? How will they differ from what was done before?
Well, I will be responsible for a large device with a payload capacity in various options from 10 to 20 tons. It will be a very large airship with a rigid hull with a volume of 60,000 cubic meters. This will definitely be a completely different airship, both in terms of size and instrumentation. It's roughly like comparing the old An-2 aircraft to a modern Airbus. It will be a modern, state-of-the-art aircraft with a long range, a long flight duration, and a modern advanced cockpit.
Here, yes, the instrument cabin is like this.
No, she's absolutely normal. She's excellent.
It reminds me of the Buran. I sat in the Buran, and I see that everything here is indeed smaller, but the style is similar. The indicators are Soviet.
Not all of the instruments are Soviet. There are imported devices here. These instruments for the propulsion system are all Czech because the engines are Czech. However, the other instruments are domestic, Soviet. This is a project from 2004, already 20 years ago. Back then it was designed differently. Now it features modern elements, including a glass cabin and everything displayed on screens. That is, a minimum of dial instruments. Panels on which all necessary equipment is programmed and displayed can be scrolled through.
I recently became the happy owner of both a driver's license and a car. And I want to say that sometimes these old-fashioned analog instruments are even better and more pleasing to the eye than looking at screens. Still, can you tell me about the reliability? It seems to me that analog gauges are more reliable.
No, everything is very reliable now. Everything is duplicated. Even the modern instrument panels on the screens are made to be very reliable. There is triple redundancy both in the signal and in the power supply, with additional components ensuring reliability. And if one of the tablets in the system happens to malfunction, all of this can be displayed on another tablet. Everything is reliable. Everything is designed according to aviation standards. There are specific regulations for everything, including engines, instrumentation, and software. The software, this is the latest document, DO 160C, which outlines all the standards and all the stages that the developer must go through to ensure everything works and never fails. What you are holding in your hands is the oar. This is the control for the engine power, the right and left respectively. This here, these are the angles of rotation, up to 120 degrees from the horizontal, that is a little even backward. It is possible to control, so to speak, by differential tension. So this is how we can turn around. We are hanging vertically, and since it is flying overloaded, we hang vertically. Then we do it this way, and we can turn it, or we can turn it like this. That is for control at low speeds, when the controls are aerodynamically ineffective. If you turn a little like this and place your hand, this is the control for the rudders.
This can be done at high speeds.
What kind of large? More than 8 meters per second is generally manageable with the controls when flying. This is when you are already in full hover mode. You can try playing around with this. This control panel displays the position of all 8 control surfaces. So you can see all the stabilizers, root and tip, and control surfaces in 4. Everything is visible.
Great. And this, I understand, is a radio to indicate your takeoff to let someone know where you are going, right?
You must have communication. It's essential.
And it's like flying a helicopter, right? I take off from here, want to go there, gain altitude, and off I go.
Firstly, there is a transponder. The aircraft can't fly without a transponder. It operates in automatic mode. You are constantly sending a signal to air traffic control with a specific number for your aircraft. Your altitude, direction of movement, plus radio communication. Everything is like any other aircraft. It is no different.
We can talk a little bit more about the design. This is an exclusively engineering solution, maximally efficient and intricate in its approach, and highly detailed.
But this solution is specifically for this device.
Yes, understood. Here is a question for the future of the device. Is it possible to involve renowned,
I'm sorry, please.
bless you, to indeed definitely attract designers, so that it feels like being in the interior of a good car here?
Of course, this is resolved. Both the designer and the constructor work simultaneously, and any aircraft goes through a necessary stage known as the mock-up commission. This is when independent specialists come in and assess the overall convenience and design aspects. They do not look at it from the perspective of aesthetics. They look at it from the perspective of safety. It should be comfortable for the pilot so that he can see everything, so that everything is accessible to him, so that he can easily reach any handles and controls from any position, so that he can safely leave his workstation in case of an emergency and quickly return to it. In other words, the mock-up commission is a necessary stage in the creation of any flying vehicle.
In our case, there will be an additional commission in the form of investors who will come and assess the modernity and beauty.
I would say that investors are certainly important, but safety comes first.
I see. What we are primarily discussing, however, are devices from the future.
Of course. Everything will be done at a modern level.
It is preferable to be a little ahead.
I want to get a little ahead. Well, let's go and see what the stabilizers are all about. Here is the stabilizer of the airship. Its total area is approximately 25 square meters. In 2014, they were being pulled back. Here they are again, 2 electric drives from Electroc. Each rudder is split. This results in a root section of the rudder and an end section of the rudder. Each section deviates independently. When we adjust the end sections that are further from the axis of the envelope, we can also control the roll. That is, the airship has a slight tendency to roll, and it needs to be counted slightly to prevent it from swaying slightly. A bit more.
Well, here, the organization was functioning in a very efficient and effective manner. The flight crew and all other staff ate and rested here during their layover and took a much-needed, well-deserved break and relaxation. They also worked, coordinating the flights in various capacities and responsibilities when they went on a mission. Yes, I indeed typed this myself and also submitted these for printing. This is the airship. 030 currently in flight, which it successfully flew at Aviamax in the sky with the advertisement of Rosoboron export. And further on is a large storage complex of 10,000 cubic meters, which was in the province for China under a contract with Rosoboron export. Olga did all of this. This shell is approximately 10,000 cubic meters. Here is the radar complex and the ground complex. All of this was developed by the leading organization, which was also a St. Petersburg organization. Everything was handed over to them, and they had several complexes that were put into operation. After that, they eventually started gradually making their own airships, and no longer turned to us. The work was completed and submitted successfully, and the contacts remained quite good with them.
Let's go then, and take a look at the facilities for the base personnel. Here is the medical station. There are offices for the staff to work in, such as various different types of necessary equipment and supplies. Everything is furnished with furniture. This is the restroom. There are separate offices that are currently open. Here you will find the restroom, which is available for use at any time. The office is a dedicated workspace where various activities take place. Here we had the pilots, who were responsible for flying the aircraft, and the navigator, who played a crucial role in charting the course. Mini PBX, Office of Aviation and Telecommunications Engineers and Specialists.
Construction of which began in 2004, was completed somewhere around 2005. and was waiting for us to start assembling airships here. So, the length of this part is 70 meters. The height to the ceiling is more than 20 meters, but I judge by the gates, because the gates are 19 meters high, and their width is, I believe, 20 meters. That is the airship 030, which has a volume of 200 cubic meters, fit in here without any problems. In other words, it was quite comfortable to assemble here. In principle, this hangar. This section size allows for the assembly of airships with a volume of up to 8,000 cubic meters. That is, it is possible to build an 8,000 cubic meter airship here, and to assemble a similar one there. This bearing always positions itself according to the wind, the aerostat. The wind is always blowing into its nose. Each project had its own chief designer. This particular project was taken on by Maxim Salahov. This is a very serious matter, and it is a crime that it was abandoned and not completed.